Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? I am coming to you live for the West Coast Big Bass Update, and I'm actually on the West Coast in San Diego, California. I wasn't planning on this, but work had different thoughts, so I'm in San Diego. Hey buddy, hey Gary, how are you? It's a little different live for me because I am in a hotel room. Well, I was in a hotel room a few lives ago in San Diego during a work thing too. So, but it was for the Southern Big Bass. This is actually the West Coast Big Bass update. So, give it a few minutes, let people jump in here. I threw the I'll throw the link up there one more time. Anybody wants to jump in, please do so. On Facebook and or YouTube. So I would love to tell you that I have a lot of updates, and there's not a lot of updates, and I'll wait for a few minutes till a few more folks get in here to go over that. So it's been interesting. Interesting how this West Coast Big Bass started off. Started off on a Thursday versus a midweek or a weekend, so maybe that is a factor in fish coming in. So, but on a different note, hey Russell, how are you? Good to see you, buddy. I just telling everybody. Russell, this is the West Coast Big Bass update, and I am in the West Coast time zone in San Diego, California, to do this update. Not because I wanted to, it's because work got me here. So a little bit different. A little bit different. Russell, I'm curious to know how your fishing's going. The spawn is pretty much over. It is down in my part of Virginia. I'm just curious how it is up in your area. I know you fish a lot of smaller waters. Are you catching? You still seeing fish on beds, or is it kind of slacked off for you? It's the last time I was out, it was just a bunch of males. Hey Nathan Cross, how are you? Good to see you. So I went out. I guess it was midweek last week, and I got nothing but small males, a few small males on the beds. Um, it just kind of seemed like everything has slowed. The spawn is towards the tail end in Virginia. But it's different parts, different. Every lake is different, but the temperature. Yeah, the whack. Russell, that's exactly how I've been catching. I was catching them on wacky worm. And what was funny is I was catching them on a wacky worm, not a Cinco, which I like to fish wacky a lot this time of year. They wouldn't hit a Cinco as well as they'd hit the old skinny. I was using can't remember the name brand worm, but it was a different type of worm. It was just a regular thin worm that I was wacky styling it, and they were just killing it. Hey Brian, how are you? I think I just answered a text from you. But yeah, it looks like the spawn knows it. Brian, I'm curious from you. I don't know if you've been out on Mooney lately. Last time I was out on Mooney, it was on the tail end. The spawn was on the tail end. That's what we're talking about. Hey Russell, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by, Russell Gardner. I'm thinking by the end of this week, you'll have some stragglers moving up to spawn, but nothing much more. They're in the Virginia area. But I'm just waiting for a few more folks to come in here before we do somewhat of an update for the West Coast Big Bass. Nathan Gamer X49. Hey Gamer, how are you? I don't know your name, but I do recognize your email because you are in one of the tournaments. You're in the tournament, so thanks for stopping by. Nathan, I think I met you about a week or so ago out on the ramp at Mooney, if I'm not mistaken. Or was that somebody else? I will tell you though, the weather here in San Diego is always the same when I come. It seems like you're starting to throw that big gilly, Brian. Is the bluegill spawning yet, or are you just starting to throw it? I didn't see any sign of the bluegill spawning. No, I'm talking to Nathan Cross, not Gamer. I recognize your email address. No, I've never met you. I think I met Nathan at the boat ramp. You're just throwing it, Brian. I have not had much luck on that gilly. I haven't. I've had a few bites, but I haven't caught any big bass on that gilly. Good luck. Yeah, it's this the bluegill spawn is. Thanks, Gary. The jackal flick shake worm is what I was throwing. Yeah, the jackal flick shake. Yeah, Russell, the northern big bass is coming up. It is, and I've had a lot of people starting to jump in there. Yeah, Nathan said he's checked a couple of known bass beds on Mooney, and they were empty. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're towards the tail end. I did do real well. I guess it's been 2 weeks ago. Me and Marty Lawson, I took Marty out on my boat, and we probably caught 40 bass, easy 40, maybe even more. All in that 2 to 4. I think I did catch one big one. I can't remember what it was, 5 maybe. Marty caught a 4-pounder. I remember him catching a 4-pounder, but most of them. Yeah, Nathan, I thought it was you. I met you on the ramp. Nathan, that was that same day. I think Marty and I caught about 40 plus bass that day. It was a really hot day. I mean, we're catching on that jackal whacking worm. So, and I think Nathan, if I remember correctly, I seen a pretty nice one that you caught too that same day that you put on the Facebook page. So, oh, Russell, I did get that electric motor. I got that electric motor, and I put it on my boat Sunday before I had to fly out here to San Diego, and I tested it out. And I will tell you, I am very impressed. For a $900 motor, which it's still expensive motor. Don't get me wrong, but I pushed my boat now close, and I only took myself and I had my daughter and my grandkids just test driving it out. I went over a mile per hour faster on that motor, and it's so super quiet. It was crazy. That motor, right now I've only went out that one day and test drove it, but you get 6 miles per hour out of an electric motor, and I will tell you, it pushes my boat really well, but it pushes out a big weight too, so it wants to plane. So I think on an electric motor, like I'm using, you're not going to get much faster than 6.5 miles per hour because it can't plane, right? You can't get a boat to plane. Brian, I remember seeing you caught quite a few fish the day after me and Russell went out. But yeah, Russell, I'm sorry, me and Marty went out. Russell, I do so far. I'm really impressed with that electric motor. 3 horsepower. What's the name of the company? I just blanked it. It'll come to me in a second. But for $900, it's really a good motor so far. And what I really like is it tells you your battery percentage. It tells you how fast you're going. It tells you everything on the handle. It's really a good setup. So really, really, really impressed with it. I was going to buy an Elco outboard when this motor came on board. Newport Vessel. Thanks, Brian. Newport Vessels. And they do make one for a kayak, by the way. They make the same 3 horsepower motor for a kayak, and in some of the reviews I read, it pushes the kayak 6.5 to 7.5 miles per hour, that's quick on a kayak. Brian, I think you go 4 on your motor now. I think you told me you go to 4.2. I mean, 2 miles per hour faster is a lot. I mean, that's a 40% increase, almost 30 to 40% increase, which is pretty impressive. So I can't wait to get it out. I did, like I said, just went out and test drove it with my grandkids on the boat. So yeah, Brian, you said you're running 4. I think I'm going to be 4. Yeah, 4 is plenty on the kayak. It is. I think I'll be at a solid 6. 5.8, 6.2, somewhere in there. Yeah, that is moving a yak. Yeah. And Russell, me and Brian Green fish the same lake a lot of times. Yeah, Gary thinks 30% faster. And Brian makes the comment that I can pull a skier on my boat versus what he can do on the yak. So, all right. Well, it's been about 10 minutes, and I'm not sure how many more folks will jump in here, but the update for the Western Big Bass Tournament is there's no real update. I haven't got one fish turned in yet. I know everybody received their participant code. I had a few questions that came out, but I haven't had a fish in the first week turned in. So there's really no update. I'm sorry to bring everybody on here, but I promised when I send out the emails, I put the dates that I'm doing the lives, and I'm going to do those lives if there's an update or not. There's no update to give. No one's turned into bass. No one has turned into bass. Out of, I think it's 81 folks in the West Coast, no one has turned a bass in yet. I have had a couple questions, about how to do it and things of that nature, but no bass turned in. I'm suspecting it will turn. What'll happen is I'll get a bunch real quick. They must be caught in that LA traffic. Russell, that might be true. I experienced San Diego traffic. Believe it or not, it's not as bad as DC traffic. So, but it sucks anyway. Yep, Russell, no fish have been turned in. Now, let's compare it to the Southern Big Bass. That first week in the Southern Big Bass, I probably had 20 or 30 the first week. The second week, I probably had 150. And it just kind of progressively got a lot more as the tournament went on. So, that's a good point, Brian. Maybe we need to show them how to fish. But, I mean, here's the thing. As of right now, just a bass turned in could win it. And, a 12-incher or 10-incher or whatever could win you a $200 gift card to Omnia. So I'm sure it's just a matter of they haven't either caught a fish yet or haven't taken the time to turn anything in. And they may wait till the very end. I did have a couple fishermen on the Southern Big Bass do that. It's risky to do that because if you forget or don't get it in on time, if it's not here by the time limit, I'm sorry, game over, right? I have rules. I have to stick by those rules as a tournament director. So, but it's Russell Gardner. Remind me which state you're in. Michigan, if I remember correctly, Michigan or Ohio. Because I watched a video from Russell. No, you can't fly out west and compete. Your home state, your home water. That's the rules. I've been watching the Michigan fisherman, Brian Pichet. Man, he's been tearing it up in Michigan, smallmouth and largemouth. So, hey, if you don't mind, hit the old thumbs up for me. Help the algorithm machine. I know we don't. Indiana. Okay, Russell. Good to see Indiana. Speaking of Indiana, I fished the Reese Life Dad Life Custom Challenge last week, and if you don't know what that is, by the way, go check out Reese Life Dad Life RLDL. Great channel. Mike and his son get out there and tear it up, and they had a little tournament between YouTube channels. I think there were 17 YouTube channels. Beard Zero won. Just good to see Beard. I've been following Beard for now 2 years. But he won the challenge. He had 50. Your three biggest bass. And you had to fish the chatterbait. What happened with this tournament? You had to fish the chatterbait that Mike designed and sent to all of us. It's a custom-made chatterbait, and that's the only way your fish would count if you caught them on that chatterbait. I jigged that chatterbait in front of fish on the beds, and they would not eat that. I had three bass at 52 inches. I think it came in fourth or fifth. But it's the middle of the spawn. Fish were on the beds. They weren't hitting the chatterbait. Hit a wacky worm, but they wouldn't hit a chatterbait. Yeah, Russell, RWA Fishing it. Beard won. Beard's just a great dude, man. He is a great guy. He's down there around. He's south of Austin, Texas. Doesn't have a lot of lakes. Got a lot of drought condition down there, but he won it with 59 inches of bass. So it was fun. It's a really fun tournament. Unfortunately, I didn't get to fish the latter half of the week because I had family in town. So, Soren, what state are you in? Are you up north? If I'm saying your name right, Soren Dumar. You should have some open water somewhere. Rivers. Let's see. We're coming up on May 1st. Wisconsin. You don't have open water in Wisconsin yet. So I've lived up north. I pretty much can say I've lived as far north as you can live in the United States. I lived in Alaska for almost over 4 years. And by May, the rivers break up. By this time, April, May, you have the rivers break up and all the ice move. Lived in North Dakota. Seen some real thick ice in North Dakota. So hopefully, if you don't have some clear water, it'll be coming soon. But the weather has been very crazy this year. I mean, I was looking back in my videos of when the spawn happened the last 2 years, because I've been doing the YouTube channel for 2 years, coming up on 2 years in May, and I kind of kept track of what I caught 3 or 4 years ago when I first started fishing. And it seemed like between the 15th and the 20th, 16th to the 21st of April that's when they jumped on the beds. This year, they were already on the beds. They were on the beds earlier than that this year. Okay, I got you, Soren. The rivers are too fast and dangerous. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. That part of you guys got a lot of snow up there too. Yeah, Brian, we did have a really warm February. We did here in Virginia had a really warm February. March was just awkward. And April was, we just got cold front after cold front after cold front come through in April. I thought, all right, the fish are going to get on the beds, cold front. Next, fish are going to get on the beds, cold front, right? It was really odd. Really odd. Well, like I said, this was the West Coast Big Bass update. You're still in the 20s at night? Wow. That's crazy this time of year. I thought Indiana, you'd at least be mid-40s. Yeah, Brian, I agree with you. We did catch a lot of fish shallow in February. I was looking. There's a lot of footage I haven't put out on my channel yet. I think it's like the 13th of February. I was catching. No kidding. I was catching bass on Mooney in a foot of water. Russell, it happened quick. You said you must have been fishing when the bass were on beds. It happened quick this year. It was just a short window. Yeah, Gary, I get it. Moved to Florida. Yeah, but your spawn was fast this year too in Florida. Or hey, at least what I seen when we went down when we fished on Seminole, we didn't see a fish at all on the beds in mid-March. So, by the way, I've got let's move it this way. Gary's fishtail sticker on my cup here. Yeah, it was over quick. Russell, I think we had 2 cold fronts that were about 6 days apart. And I think the big bass spawned between those 2 cold fronts. I really do think. And my experience, and I'm not the world's greatest fisherman, but I grew up bass fishing. I've been bass fishing for almost 50 years. But my dad used to tell me this, and he still tells me this today because he's still out there fishing. When the spawn starts, the bigger bass usually spawn first. They get up, spawn, and get out. They'll spawn deeper, and they spawn first. Yeah, Brian, you got a good point. They did spawn on the new moon this year. Usually it's the full moon, but they got in and got out. And this, like I said, that about a week after the prime part of our 5 days, I was out on Mooney catching the 2s and 3s and 4s. But those big ones, they were in and out real quick. Yes, it has started in Virginia, and it's pretty much over in Virginia. I think I'm saying your name right. Cuse, C. Norton. Yeah, it's pretty much over in Virginia. It's towards the very tail end of the last time I went out, I caught some small males on the beds. I did not catch a female at all. Oh, Kiss. Okay, thanks. Oh, Kiss. Yeah, it's pretty much it's towards the very tail end in Virginia. Yeah, it's odd, Brian. You bring it up. They spawn on the new moon. They do like to spawn on the moon cycles, but the full moon cycle this year was when that cold front moved through. The water temperature just hit 61, 62. I was out on Hunting Run right before that cold front moved through, and it was 3 days of real cold after that, and then it warmed right back up just in time for the new moon cycle. So. Okay. So I've been out on Hunting Run a couple times already this year, so hopefully we see you out there again. That if you haven't seen some of the videos I put out, I've had a really epic day on Hunting Run when it first opened. I had 8, 6 something, 5 something, 4. I caught some big bass on the opening day and Hunting Run. It's 2 or 3 episodes ago on my channel. Did really good out there. Unfortunately, I didn't do well the last few weeks up toward this. You always catch fish on Hunting Run. You always, something I've learned. I'm knocking on wood because this is gonna jinx me. I'm gonna say it. I've never been skunked on Hunting Run. I've always caught bass on Hunting Run, no matter. It might only be 1 or 2, and I've never been skunked on Mooney. Been skunked on Able a few times. That's the other lake to fish. But it seems like you can always catch bass when you're out there. Just have to adjust. But there are days out on Hunting Run and on Mooney when it seems like you just can't keep the 4 and 5, 6 pounders off your line. And when you get out there to fish, those days are great. Yeah, Brian, I agree. The big ones are down off the drop-offs. Yeah. If you haven't fished Mooney more than once, you ought to get out. It's a bigger lake than Hunting Run, but once you figure out how to fish Mooney, there's some points are important. It's a different type of lake in the sense of you've got a lot of structure, deep structure. If you learn about the deep structure, if you got a fish finder and you find some of the deep structure. You usually can pick some fish up off the points on deep structure and things of that nature. It's just about, it's super clear. Hey, Chris Shelton, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. I will tell you, I learned last year on Mooney after the spawn, during the bluegill spawn, you need to fish fluorocarbon in that lake. They can. I seen bass not hit my lure because they can see the line. That was kind of odd. Deep grass too, Brian. You hit the deep grass. They were up shallow around the bluegill, and I was throwing my topwater rod. I broke my regular line. I threw I forgot what it was, a worm or a wacky worm on braid, 30-pound braid, green braid. And I was like, I'm throwing it right by their face. I can see them. They're 25 feet out from me, and they wouldn't hit it. They were shying away from the lure. I switched over. I retied on my fluorocarbon and started catching fish again. That water's so clear. You can't fish that heavy braid in that lake. And Brian's sitting here agreeing with me. Yeah, you can do a floral leader. You can do a floral leader. That's fine. But you just can't fish straight 30 or 50-pound braid like when I go to Florida and fish down in Florida or with Gary, I like my braid line, that heavy grass, but the water's not as clear. You can see 8-10 feet deep in Mooney. It depends on, of course, on the sunlight, but if you got plenty of sunlight, you can see those bass down there. As a matter of fact, when I had Marty Larson with me the day we caught about 40 bass out there a few weeks ago, I had the boat setting in 10 foot of water, and I could see bass swimming under my boat towards the bottom at 10 foot of water. It was amazing. Yeah, you got to give up the braid in that clear water. Yeah, I fish, depending on which rod, which setup I have. I usually fished a 10-pound fluorocarbon to a 16-pound fluorocarbon on Mooney, and you're fine. But braid is great if you're fishing heavy vegetation. It is, but it's really not needed in Virginia. I haven't fished a lake in Virginia that so far, and I haven't fished a ton of lakes that. Yeah, I caught 40 in one day on Mooney just a couple of weeks ago. What braid do I throw? I like the Stren 832. I think it is 832 or 632. Yeah, okay. So I caught over 40 bass on Mooney. I guess it was 2 weeks ago in the prime of the spawn. And I've had days out on Mooney where I've caught in just a couple of hours 15 to 25 bass. So Soren says, some of the really clear lakes I fish with, we can see 10 foot down. The bass don't mind braid. I think another of it's pressure. Good point. Yeah, pressure has a lot to do with it. Mooney is not heavily pressured. It's got I would say it's average pressure on Mooney. Hunting Run is heavily pressured. It feels like a bass tournament on the weekends at Hunting Run. There can be, and Hunting Run is a 390 acre lake, and you can have 50 to 60 boats on that lake. Suffix, thank you, Greg. Suffix 883 is the braid that I like. Out on Hunting Run, you can have 50 to 60 boats, and sometimes you're like, I don't know where to go. There's so many boats on the lake. That's a heavily fished lake. You can still do real well. Sometimes I definitely fish fluorocarbon on that lake. It's pretty clear. Brian, I think you're right. We're going to get some changes on Mooney because they changed the limit. Now tournaments can come in, but I just don't. The kicker, I think, is going to be what the state puts out on the shocking results on that lake. The people read the DNR, the Department of Game and Fish website on how the lakes are doing. Okay, got you. You went from YouTube from Facebook to YouTube. I guess Brian Time's going to tell on that. I think Time is going to tell how much pressure we're really going to get on Mooney. We'll see. I just don't really think it's going to impact the quality of the fish the first 1 year or two. But if it does get heavy pressure, yeah, it's definitely going to be a factor. Oh, they shocked today. So I guess they shocked at Hunting Run 2 weeks ago, and the shocking results, they didn't get what they thought they would get from what I was told. So we'll see what they come out with. So Russell, you asked what braid I'm throwing. The Suffix 883 fluorocarbon I like. I either like the FC Sniper Sunline or the Yo-Zuri Top Knot is the fluorocarbon I throw. So I forgot, and I know it's been 30 minutes. For anybody that came in here for the West Coast Big Bass update, there is no Big Bass update because no one turned the fish in yet. So this is just kind of a live chat thing. But I do have a sponsor, and I have to mention Omnia Fishing. And you can see on the scrolling banner below, if you go to Omnia Fishing, which is a great fishing tackle supplier, very competitive prices, same as Bass Pro Shop and everybody else. If you use the discount code SFO 2023 at checkout, you get 15% off your purchase for being following Shameful and Outdoors. Also, I would encourage everyone, if you go into and look at Omnia Fishing, they have an ambassador program, which I am a gold member ambassador for Omnia Fishing. It's a pretty good deal. If you do a fishing update or a fishing report, and someone buys a lure that you recommended off your fishing report, and it's very simple to do, the fishing report, you get $5. They give you money when someone buys a lure that you recommend. So being an ambassador is absolutely 100% free, like fishing one of my tournaments. And it's also a good way to get some money back. Now, they don't give you a check. You get $5 off towards any purchase at Omnia. And when you become a gold member, like for me, I'm a gold member. If someone buys something that I recommend, it's $10. So the more fishing reports out, the higher your status goes. So it's a good deal. Omnia Fishing is a newer company, and they're doing a lot of good things to support fishermen. So Soren, what the shop does is the state goes around, and they do this in just about every state, is they count the fish. And they not only count the fish, the bass, they count the number of preferred catchable bass. So preferred catchable bass in Virginia is between 14 and 18 inches. And then they have three categories, just total number, which could be anywhere from 3 inches to 12 inches. So the total number. Then they have the preferred catchable bass, which is 14 to 18. Brian Green, you may know this better than me, but I think I'm pretty close. And then they have what they call trophy catches. There's a term they use for it, and they count that on average as well. So the trophy catches and the preferred catch rate tell you how healthy a lake is on the amount of bass that's in the lake. And for example, Honey Run over the last 3 to 5 to 7 years has been a good trophy quality lake. Matter of fact, it's one of the top 3 trophy lakes in Virginia. And what they mean is people that catch 20-inch plus bass. Brian just threw it out there. 20-inch plus bass where's the report posted? The report is on the Virginia, whatever state you live in, but for us, the Virginia Department of Natural Resources, the DNR website. You just go there to the fishing, and then you can go fishing reports, and then they have a list of all the lakes, and you can see all the reports they put out. Like there's a small lake real close to my house. It's called, what is it called? It's a real small lake. Brian, you probably know what it is, right next to the golf course. Oh, man, it just slipped my mind. But anyway, we have a small lake next to my house, and just great bass habitat. And it's probably about 30 or 40 acres. It's a smaller lake, but they put in the result one year that they caught they shocked up a 13-pound bass. Curtis Lake. Thank you, Brian. That lake, they put that out 6 or 7 years ago, and that lake is swarmed with fishermen. And it's just a real tiny little lake. But you can't, all I catch out of there is small 12, 14 inchers. I mean, I have not caught a big bass out of there. And hey, I'm not sitting here telling you I'm a big bass fisherman, but I do catch a lot of big bass. You can see it on my channel. I know how to catch them if they're there. And I haven't caught one out of there. It's 90 acres. Yeah, it's a small lake. But man, they put in their shocking results that they shocked up a 13.5 pounder, and they put it on the web, and people just flock to that lake. Brian, have you ever caught a giant out of there? Anything over 5 pounds in Curtis? Russell, that's a good point. There's been conversations I've read about getting snakeheads. You can shock up the snakeheads because they're shallow. And the shocking, when they go and they put the probes in from the shocking boat, they can get down to about 6 or 7 feet, and snakeheads don't go that deep. Brian said you caught years ago. You caught a nice bass on Curtis. Yeah, it's just not today. I haven't seen. I don't get good results when I go out there. Okay, so you heard good stuff on Curtis. I can't sit here and tell you it's horrible, but I haven't had any luck out there. Hey, Gary, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Brian Randall, I'm in Cali. I pulled out a 7-pounder. Are you in the tournament? You would be winning the tournament right now. No one's turned anything in. Brian Randall said he's got a 7-pounder. Nye River Reservoir is really good lake. Nye's a good lake, by the way. Okay. Brian, if you're in my tournament, turn that daggum thing in. I don't have any bass turned in. And by the way, I'm in San Diego right now for work. I'm not sure what part of California you're in. Okay, Brian, upload. Hey, update for the West Coast Big Bass Tournament. We got leader. Brian Randall is in the lead, as I know it right now. And Fishley turned it in. But, yeah, send it in. I mean, I have had no fish turned in so far out of 81 fishermen. Bakersfield. Oh, yeah, it's a good area. Oh, you live down the road from Nye? No, I don't fish Nye. I've only fished Nye about 3 or 4 times, but I keep telling myself I'm going to Nye, but I end up at a Hunting Run. I know they fish it. It gets fished pretty heavily, but I don't think it gets fished as heavy as Hunting Run. Yeah, Nathan, I'm with you. I've only caught a few smalls on Curtis. It just seems like that's all I catch. Now, for you Virginia fishermen in my area, I love fishing Mooney. Oh, you're halfway between Hunting Run and Nye. Okay, yes. I love fishing Mooney. It's a great lake. I love fishing Hunting Run. I love fishing all the lakes, right? But I am convinced that a state record lives in Able Lake, and I'm going to catch that thing. I fish Able a lot. I've seen some 6 and 7s come out of Nye in some of the tournaments that have been out of there. But I have seen. Hey, Russell, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. We're fixing to cut it short. Thanks for coming by. Soren, you too. Ice machine just went off. But I'm a big believer that I'm going to catch that big state record out of Able Lake. That lake is old, and it's deep, and there's a lot of big fish in there. So, well, hey everybody, I know we've been on here just over a half hour. The only update is I know there's a big fish coming for the West Coast Big Bass. Thanks everybody for stopping by. I appreciate it. Oh wait, Brian just said Curtis is loaded with tons of 1-pound crappie. That's a secret I didn't know, Brian. I love catching me some big crappie, so I might go try to catch those guys. So again, thanks everybody for stopping by. We're gonna go ahead and close it out. Hopefully next Wednesday I will do an update. Next Wednesday I'll have some actual fish to talk about. And if you are fishing, if you are on here and fishing the West Coast League, good luck. Bring in some big ones, and hopefully we get a lot turned in. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next week.